Hello guys and welcome to a new video. As you guys know, Andrew Tate got 30 days more in prison. Andrew Tate's lawyer had an interview after that decision and had this to say.
Week, the detention order of the Tate brothers was ordered extended for an additional 30 days. The defense fought that, but the court ruled that they would be detained until the end of March. However, as to the two women that are also being detained along with the Tate brothers, the court last week ordered that they could be released on house arrest. Both decisions were appealed, and the appeal was heard yesterday. As far as the Tate brothers, the appeal was denied and they are still continue to be ordered. As far as the two women go, that decision was unfortunately reversed. So the prosecutors are the ones who had appealed their release on house arrest, and they did prevail. And now the women will stay in custody until the end of March as well. But I think a lot of what is circulating out there is out of context. Again, certain things are sometimes leaked, but the entire conversation is not provided to give somebody who's listening the full context. And if you actually hear the entire conversation about the references to Dubai, that was in relation to a pre-existing health condition that Andrew has. And long before he was arrested and detained for this investigation, he had a medical procedure that was scheduled in Dubai. And so the entirety of the context of that conversation is that he says if he is released, he plans to go to the appointment as scheduled. And it's a conversation about that procedure. This investigation started close to a year ago in April. Since that time, the brothers have left Romania, I would say at least half a dozen times, and they've always returned. Although they weren't the accused at the time, they weren't specifically being investigated the way they are now, as in relation with the detention. The investigation had begun, and if they had anything to be concerned about, I don't think they would have returned to Romania. I mean, if they in fact were a flight risk. So I think all of those factors really weigh against the fact that they would go anywhere, not to mention that they're highly recognizable. It's hard to imagine where they would go that they wouldn't be identified. But that's certainly not what they were saying in the phone conversations that were used to convince the court. I think the file, and I can't get into what the file contains because these are closed proceedings for the time being in Romania. But I can talk about the fact that there is no evidence in the file of human trafficking. There's no evidence of force or coercion or forced transport or forced labor or any sort of deprivation of women's liberty, which is at the heart of any sort of human trafficking charge. And I'll reiterate the fact that they have been investigated for a very long time and they have not been formally charged. So I think what you said is absolutely true. I think a lot of people think that maybe some things that they've publicly stated could be used as evidence against them. And that's absolutely not true. And it's not appropriate because these are public personas who say a lot of things because that's, what their audience maybe likes or wants. And that's what gets them the likes and the followers, but that's not evidence of crime. That's not who they are as private people. And that's not what should be considered as evidence in a court of law. I say a lot of things. It's satire. And I've heard, a lot of silly things. I've heard him talk about whether eggs are real or the fact that he's existed for 5,000 years because, there's a ninja warrior inside of him. And so there's lots of things I think he says. It's entertainment. It is this public persona. And those things are not all intended to be taken seriously. Trying to cast him or recast him, and I'm certainly not here to comment or judge him for the content he's put out. I'll be the first to admit I haven't seen a majority of the content, but I have seen certainly long form interviews where he has tried to explain some of the things that he has said that have offended a lot of people and that have been some of the most controversial things he said. I've also read and listened to those tenets. So again, I can't speak as to every single thing he said. And as far as I'm concerned, which is as his attorney in a criminal investigation, these things just are not evidence. And that's a topic for another day that could be debated as to, whether it's appropriate what he says or what he means by it. But that's not my role in this. My role is that these things are not evidence that should be used against him. The same way, again, I used an example previously about rap artists. You don't prosecute rap artists because they say things that, about maybe criminal activity or things that they might be talking about in a different context that could be used as evidence against. As far as my own personal interactions with both brothers have been nothing but pleasant and respectful. And yes, I have no reason not to. Certainly, this is a serious experience he's having in his life, and I think it will impact him. I don't know specifically what that impact, and I can't speculate as to what that impact will be. But to your point, as far as the rubbish, I do want to say that I think the overwhelming majority of his content is actually positive. And I don't think a lot of people would disagree with that. I think most people agree that he has a lot of motivational messages for young men, and boys, teenagers, and it could be applied even to women. It's really just about self-improvement, to be the best version of yourself and to live your best life, and to tell the youth that you can do anything you put your mind to. And I think that's really his message. Now, of course, there are the smaller fractions of what he says, which is controversial. And I think that is what most people are upset about. But again, I wouldn't cast everything he says as rubbish. I think there is a really positive message in a lot of what he says. We are working with the Romanian legal defense team to see what the next steps are. As of now, the detention has been extended till the end of March. And of course, at that point, we will be seeking to get them out of custody. And for the meantime, we're working on the defense and everything we can to prove their innocence and to get them out of custody.
So, there you have it. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more updates. Thanks for watching.